The Mitchell Court boardroom was frozen in time. The same glossy mahogany table, the same stiff-backed leather chairs, the same brooding oil portraits of past executives who'd built the company brick by brick. Even the coffee, served in delicate china cups, was the same bitter blend my uncle had always insisted on. I sat at the far end of the table, quietly observing as my cousin Victoria commanded the room during the annual shareholder meeting. She'd barely glanced my way when I entered, just a curt nod and a whispered remark to her assistant about family formalities. "As you can see," she said, gesturing to the screen behind her, "Mitchell Corp's luxury retail division outperformed all projections this quarter." The board murmured approval. My Uncle Robert, CEO and Victoria's father, beamed like a proud patriarch. Beside him, my Aunt Margaret theatrically dabbed at invisible tears. I took a slow sip of coffee, thinking about the figures hidden beneath Victoria's slick slideshow, the real numbers that told a very different story: declining profits, shrinking market share, a company desperately held together with creative accounting. Then, a board member turned toward me. "And who is this young lady?" Victoria's smile faltered for half a second before she recovered. "Oh, that's just my cousin Emma. Her father, my late uncle, left her a handful of shares, so she's legally entitled to attend." A handful of shares? If only they knew. "She runs some little online business," she added, her voice sugared with condescension. "Not quite Mitchell Corp material, but we like to support family." The board members nodded politely, already tuning out. To them, I was just another footnote, forgettable, unremarkable, just like 15 years ago. I had been 22 then, fresh out of business school, bursting with ideas to modernize Mitchell Corp's aging retail model. Victoria was 25, the heir apparent, despite never having worked a day outside the family bubble. "E-commerce is the future," I told them, presenting meticulous projections. "If we don't adapt, we'll be left behind." Uncle Robert had laughed, one of those big, hollow laughs that echoed in your bones. "Luxury is about the experience, Emma. No one's buying high-end fashion off a website." Victoria had rolled her eyes. "This isn't a school project, it's a billion-dollar company." So I walked away, took the shares my father left me and started my own company from a cramped apartment with a second-hand laptop and a stubborn belief in digital retail. The first years were a blur of sleepless nights, cheap noodles, and endless hustle. I taught myself to code. I built a platform. I endured every jab Victoria made, every job listing she forwarded from Mitchell Corp as a friendly suggestion. But I saw what they didn't: a future shaped by innovation, not tradition. Nova Digital broke through in year 3. Our virtual showrooms and AI-driven shopping experience caught the eye of luxury brands. Suddenly, designers who once scoffed at online retail were calling us. I stayed anonymous, operating under my middle name. Emma Grace became the elusive tech founder everyone wanted to know. Emma Mitchell remained the family footnote. Victoria's voice yanked me back to the present. "I'm thrilled to announce our expansion plans, 20 new luxury department stores across the U.S. Right on schedule." I glanced at my watch, then raised my hand. "Before we move on, shouldn't we review the company's actual financial standing?" Victoria's smile hardened. "I'm sorry, what?" "The real numbers," I said evenly, opening my briefcase, "not the ones wrapped in creative accounting." The room fell still. Uncle Robert's face darkened as he straightened in his chair. "Emma," he said, warning in his tone, "this isn't the time." I looked around the boardroom, meeting each gaze head-on. "Actually, this is exactly the time." I pulled out a thick folder and placed it on the table with a soft thud. "As Mitchell Corp's new majority shareholder," I said, "I think it's time we discuss some changes." Victoria's flawless smile faltered. "What did you just say?" I leaned back, savoring the moment 15 years in the making. "Those few shares you mentioned, I've been quietly buying more, through shell companies, private investors, and especially from shareholders worried about the company's creative accounting." Uncle Robert's face drained of color. "That's not possible. We would have known." "Would you?" I tapped my laptop. The screen behind Victoria flickered, replacing her curated graphs with raw, unfiltered data, the real numbers. "You were too busy chasing retail nostalgia, too proud to admit you'd lost touch. While you doubled down on brick and mortar, the market went digital." Around the table, board members shuffled through the documents I had distributed. Their murmurs grew louder. "These figures," one said, eyes widening, "we're on the edge of bankruptcy." I nodded. Unless we change everything, the future of luxury isn't in department stores. It's digital, tailored, immersive. We either adapt or collapse. Victoria clutched the podium, knuckles white. You can't do this. You're just a what? I cut her off. A small business owner? Nova Digital processed more luxury sales last quarter than all Mitchell Corp locations combined. The brands you're chasing, they're already with us. The room fell into stunned silence. Nova Digital, Uncle Robert whispered. You're Emma Grace. I stood, adjusting my jacket, surprised. You shouldn't be. I warned you 15 years ago. You laughed. Victoria turned to her assistant, whispering furiously. Too late, the truth had already taken root. As majority shareholder, I continued, I'm calling for a vote on new leadership, unless, of course, you prefer to watch the company collapse under your own denial. My briefcase, once so heavy with proof, now felt weightless. Every condescending smile, every dismissal, it had all led here. This is absurd, Victoria snapped, voice shaking. The board won't actually. We absolutely must, said Bernard Wheeler, the longest-serving board member, holding my reports aloft. These numbers are catastrophic. Why weren't we told? Uncle Robert straightened his tie. Now see here, Bernard, Mitchell Corp has been in my family for generations. And you're about to be the generation that lets it die, I said. Right then, Alice entered the boardroom. MS, Mitchell, she said, handing me a tablet. Live sales numbers as requested. I nodded. The screen lit up again, this time showing real-time transactions. These are happening now, luxury sales through Nova's platform, I explained. Notice the brands, formerly exclusive to Mitchell Corp. The board leaned in, stunned. While you built stores, I said, walking to the front, your customers moved online. While you romanticized tradition, they embraced innovation. Victoria had slumped into her seat, her expression cracking. But our expansion plans, she tried, would bankrupt the company in 6 months, I replied. Building stores in this market is like investing in carriages after the automobile was invented. Aunt Margaret finally spoke. Emma, dear, can't we talk this over, as family? I laughed. Was it family when you mocked my little website? When you told everyone I was throwing away my inheritance on a pipe dream? We were trying to help you understand business, Uncle Robert said weakly. No, I said, you were trying to cling to power, to protect a vision of luxury that doesn't exist anymore. I pressed another key. Nova Digital's profile filled the screen. Our valuation is $12 billion. We've partnered with every major luxury brand. Our tech is revolutionizing how people buy high-end goods. Whispers swept the room like wind through dry leaves. I move for a vote on new leadership, Bernard said, rising to his feet. It's clear we need a new direction. You can't. Victoria leapt up. Daddy, tell them. They can, I said, and they will, unless you'd rather I sell my shares to Amazon or Net-a-Porter. I'm sure they'd love to scoop up your assets, cheap. And just like that, the era of Mitchell Corp's old guard began to end. The vote was swift. 15 years of family control dissolved in under 15 minutes. Effective immediately, Bernard Wheeler read from the resolution. Emma Mitchell will assume the role of CEO. The board approves her comprehensive plan for the digital transformation of Mitchell Corporation. Victoria left the room in tears. Aunt Margaret followed close behind, no doubt already crafting a version of events for their social circles. Uncle Robert remained seated, his expression unreadable, somewhere between anger and reluctant admiration. You planned all this? He finally asked. I shook my head. I built something that worked. Your company's downfall, and my ability to save it, that was just inevitability. He scoffed. Save it? You'll destroy everything we built. No, I said calmly, I'll transform it into something better. I handed him a folder. Inside is a job offer, advisory role, digital strategy. You can help bring Mitchell Corp into the future, or watch from the sidelines. Your choice. His hands trembled slightly as he took it. And Victoria? He asked. She gets the same offer. If she can evolve, she stays. If not, I shrugged. There's always a place for her, in someone else's showroom. The transformation began immediately. We halted every brick-and-mortar expansion project and redirected those resources into digital infrastructure. There was resistance, of course, especially from legacy staff, but the younger teams dove in headfirst. Change wasn't a threat to them, it was a challenge. The biggest surprise came from Victoria. "Teach me," she said quietly one afternoon. A month into the transition, pride had given way to pragmatism. "I want to understand how you built Nova." Uncle Robert was slower to come around, but eventually, even he had to acknowledge the power of immersive online experiences and personalized luxury retail. Virtual showrooms weren't a gimmick, they were the new storefronts. 6 months after the takeover, Mitchell Corp stock had tripled. By fusing Nova Digital's technology with Mitchell's legacy, we created a hybrid model no one else could match. The family members who once mocked my little internet shop were now name-dropping me at country clubs and corporate dinners. Yesterday, during a product strategy meeting, Victoria raised her hand with a well-thought-out proposal to enhance our virtual reality offerings. "Good idea," I said, and I meant it. Later, I caught her in the hallway. "Remember when you called me your unsuccessful cousin?" She smiled sheepishly. "I was wrong. About everything." "You were," I agreed, "but you're learning. That's what matters." Last week, a major business magazine reached out for a feature, How Emma Mitchell Revolutionized Luxury Retail. They asked why I hadn't just let Mitchell Corp collapse, why I'd taken the risk to rebuild instead of walking away. I showed them a photo, 15 years old, me, standing in this very boardroom, young and nervous but already certain about where retail was headed. Because success isn't always about tearing down the old, I told them, sometimes, it's about transforming it into something better. The Mitchell Court boardroom looks different now. The oil paintings of long-gone executives have been replaced by sleek digital displays showing real-time data. The mahogany table remains, a nod to legacy, but it's surrounded by touchscreens, holographic projectors, and conversations about innovation. Even the coffee's better. But the real change isn't the tech, it's the people. Victoria now leads digital innovation projects with a team that respects her ideas. Uncle Robert mentors young entrepreneurs through our Startup Accelerator program. The culture is collaborative, curious, fearless. And me, I no longer need to prove anyone wrong. Because the best kind of revenge isn't retribution. It's reinvention.